I'm so excited. Okay, well, then without further ado, if you're ready to go, we can probably hop into it.
I'm ready to hop in when you are. Let's do this thing.
Sick. Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Stacy.
Yay!
Hello, everybody. I can see that our Twitch is up and running as well, and we have several viewers there. And we also have a couple viewers on Discord as well. So wherever you are, wherever you're tuning in, thank you for joining us. I'm sure you've seen and or heard me before. I'm Babette. I am the kind of founder of Entry Level, and I am doing the interview today, the Q&A. We are joined by the absolutely lovely Sam Webb.
Hi.
Are an all-around super cool dude. So we're so happy to have them here. Uh-oh.
I'm hoping that's not... Ooh. Ow. Technical difficulties. As is This is typical, of course, as soon as we start streaming. Technical difficulties. Oh, I can do a little bit of introduction of myself if things got cut off.
I'm sorry, Discord's a nightmare.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We're good.
Okay. We're doing okay.
Okay? We're fine. Discord, we love you, but also we hate you.
I'm so sorry. I have no idea what's going on. Give me one.
I'll do my own intro while you figure things out. Hi, I'm Sam. I use they them pronouns. I am typically refer to myself as a designer and an illustrator. I've worn a lot of hats, as it were. I'm here today because I interned at Blizzard Entertainment as a quest designer and content designer, and then also I worked as a career advisor for 2 years at Tufts University. Career advising fellow while I was a student. And that's kind of my background. And hopefully we get our technical difficulties solved. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. Yay! Stacy, let me know if I can just start yapping, because I do have the questions listed over off to the side here.
Hello.
Okay,
great.
Yeah.
Discord decided to fully crash on me. I'm so sorry.
That is okay. I'm going to... Let me know if you need me to keep yapping, because I can yap. I'm a professional yapper.
I appreciate it. I was like, great.
Yeah.
I had no worries. I disconnected and I was like, Sam can entertain them for a little bit. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
I was borderline a theater kid.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Yeah, so we'll be fine.
Perfect. Okay, I think we're good. So hello, everyone.
Hi.
I think I introduced myself okay. If not, we're here with the wonderful Sam Webb. They were a former Blizzard intern. They are a wonderful designer and illustrator, and they're going to be talking to us about a bunch of different cool things about the industry and kind of how it's approachable for a variety of people and backgrounds. So very excited to have you. Thank you for coming on.
Of course, I'm honored. This is like my first time being interviewed by people for not job applications. It's great.
That's sick. We'll try to make it as non-job application-y as possible. But
hey, look, we're making it work.
Yeah. I might try to like fully negotiate your salary expectations at the end, but I think that'll just be like,
hey, look, at this rate, if you can pay my rent, I'll take it.
$0. Yeah.
I will pay you in memes and pocket lint.
There you go. Memes and pocket lint for a New York City apartment. It's great. Nothing's gonna go wrong.
This is the type of vibe we've got going.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's jump right in. Okay, sweet. Twitch is going. I see a couple new faces on Discord. Hello, folks. We're going to, as usual, ask a couple questions. As Sam self-pronounced, they are a professional yapper, so I'm just going to let them go crazy, go stupid. And at about maybe the 10-15 minute mark, we're going to hop into Q&As and let you guys ask some questions to our wonderful guest. Woo. So without further ado, Sam, would you like to introduce yourself? Give us like a background, your degree if applicable, who you are, all that.
Yeah, so as mentioned, hi, I'm Sam. I use they, them pronouns. I am most commonly referred to as a designer and illustrator by training, but I've worn a lot of hats. I've done amateur voice acting, I've done project management and production, I've done content design for games. Again, illustration. I got my bachelor in fine arts from a university mostly geared towards a university program mostly geared towards gallery stuff. My parents have trained me well in both corporate employment and also self-employed accidentally starting a business. Ooh. I've done a lot, and it's been a wild ride, but hey, jack of all trades, master of none, better than a master of one. I'm hoping that holds true.
Absolutely. That's cool as hell, honestly, to see how many things you've done.
Hey, it's the ADHD. I like bouncing around. What can I say?
There you go. So tip number 1, have ADHD.
Who doesn't in this industry? Let's be real.
It's a little treat, yeah.
I think realistically, tip number 1 is don't be afraid to try new things, even if you're bad at it.
For sure.
I am not good at everything I've tried, but dang, if I didn't have fun doing it. And being able to speak the language of different disciplines and having that level of communication, being able to speak different disciplines' languages, in air quotes, is really important. Being able to speak as both an artist and a designer allowed me to collaborate with both of those kinds of teams during my internships really well. So there's the lesson there. Hey, we made it productive.
Yeah, there we go. We got something. Very nice. Yeah, and like you said, you've done some stuff outside of like kind of design and stuff, even outside of the games industry. You're saying you've done some corporate, all that cool stuff.
Yeah, so most of my corporate stuff is within the games industry, but a little bit of context on that. My mom's been in the corporate world for 30 years in basically the same position at the same company. And my dad currently runs like 2, possibly 3 businesses, at least one of which he started accidentally, and he did this out of our garage. So like that's what I grew up with is like one parent is very much like in the corporate rat race and the other one is just grinding it and doing things his own way. He has a bigger social media following than myself or most of my friends.
That's crazy.
Simply because he started streaming to YouTube every week after he accidentally started a business. He has a Discord server that he runs with like 800 people in it. It's insane.
Hell yeah.
So like that's like what I grew up with. And then in terms of what I've been doing, well, I've done live action role play both as a player and a volunteer. I've attempted to do commissions and freelance and that sort of thing in high school. Might get back to it. Who knows? I'm trained as a fine artist and illustrator by virtue of my degree. I went to the School of the Museum of Fine Arts, which is part of Tufts University. I lovingly call it SMFA because otherwise it's way too long of a name. And then I stumbled into game design, actually, through a variety of factors. Most importantly, showing up incessantly to a bunch of career talks.
Nice.
And then my on-campus job for the past 2 years was working as a career advising fellow for the art school and specifically talking to art students about getting jobs and what do you do with an art degree? How do you make money? How your options aren't limited to freelance or get job at big industry game studio. There's a lot more you can do as an artist, right? So that was like rapid fire kind of all of the things that I sort of have hit on in the past several years. There is so much. It's a little hard to remember everything.
That's okay. That's awesome. And I'm sure that like speaks to a lot of folks here that like there are more options than just, that triple A game studio that you keep hearing about or corporate outright. There are many different ways of going into the industry.
It is a lot of there's a lot of different pathways, and I don't feel like I don't feel like alternate pathways are represented enough.
No, I don't.
So it's worth doing some research, kind of digging yourself into it. A lot of what I would do with students was less like knowing stuff off the top of my head and more, hey, let's dig into resources. Let's do the research together. Because what I can do is I can ask questions that I know are important, and you can do the research, you can do the work to answer it. And in doing the work, you will learn more about what kind of career paths are you really interested in, what fits your work style, et cetera, et cetera. So my job wasn't to have all the answers. My job was to help people get the answers themselves.
I mean, that's huge. I think, not knowing where to start is such a big problem, especially nowadays when like everything's everywhere, I guess.
Yeah. So it's a lot. What I will say is, especially for folks who maybe are recent graduates like myself, hey, class of 2025, it's a crappy time to be graduating into this industry. Oh my God. It's there are elephants in this room. We're going to address them eventually, but there's a lot going on, and it's worth reminding ourselves that this isn't necessarily a normal time in the industry. So beating ourselves up about things we can't control is not going to be helpful. What we can control is what we choose to do with ourselves and how we support our communities, especially locally. And that's the biggest thing that I can realistically offer people to focus on. Community is super, super important, especially for your mental health. I mean, come on. Unfortunately, touching grass is actually a good idea.
You were right the whole time. It really
is the damn phone.
It was that damn phone. Yeah, no, for sure. And we are going to talk about that a little bit more too, about, folks who are disabled in the space, folks who might be in underprivileged areas or areas that are kind of lacking in the game industry. We've got what did you call it? Adhesive something?
Adhesive decor on my
Adhesive decor came, which is sick as hell.
Yeah.
So
to illustrate why I'm talking about disabilities, hello, I'm also disabled.
There you go. We have a professional on the set today.
Yeah, a professional disability haver. Is that a word?
I'm gonna make it a word. I'm gonna let it slide today. I think so.
Yeah. We're gonna do it.
So we are gonna talk from folks. And I'm working with currently, many of my volunteers are either super remote or disabled or, neurodivergent gang. So it will be super cool to hear from you as well.
Yeah.
But first, what do you currently do? What's up?
I wish I could pull up the meme that I got from Stacy, which is just this rabbit in Animal Crossing going, unemployed. Technically, I am unemployed, sort of. I have a temporary job for about 3 weeks working at my school as a course assistant for our pre-college program. I'm going to be with the animation kids. It'll be great. And then after that, no idea. I also am, again, by technicality, sort of, employed, by one of my friends who's a commission artist. They're also a full-time student and have a full-time job at a museum, and they're a commission artist. So it's like 3 jobs, and they needed help with managing their life. So I sort of became their impromptu project manager for commissions and whatnot.
Hey.
And so that's like what I'm doing in terms of employment. But realistically, beyond July, I have no idea what I'm going to be doing. And that's okay. I'm interviewing at a couple places around the Boston area if I can get an interview, fingers
Yeah.
crossed, but I'm in it as much as anybody else is trying to get a job right now. And I think it's important to also have that perspective when talking to people. It's
Mhm.
like if you're not in it, sometimes it's hard to speak on that sort of thing without taking for granted what you already have.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's like it is not just normal, but it is also totally okay to not know what's up with contracts, especially in this industry. Three
Oh my
month
god, yeah.
contracts, couple month contracts, and then what are you doing next? Who knows? 5-year plan,
Who knows?
not a thing.
Who knows? Certainly not me.
Yeah, but most importantly, you graduated this year. Congratulations.
Thank you. Literally just this past May got my
No way.
Bachelor of Fine Arts from Tufts.
Huge.
It was kind of insane after 4 years of college, and then also like you thinking back, like I haven't stopped doing school until this
Mhm.
point. And so now I suddenly have free time and I'm like, what do I do with myself? Am I an adult? Um,
No, literally.
and it's definitely a tough transition to make, especially
Mm.
right now. At the same
Mhm.
time, I'm I've been taking the time to just let myself decompress after quite literally 4 years of nonstop go, get classes done, get the degree. Like,
Mhm.
finally having free time and letting myself decompress has been weirdly healing.
Honestly, getting a sleep schedule that's kind of normal, huge.
At least consistent. It doesn't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to be
yeah.
normal, but consistency is the important part.
Sleeping in general, great. Good
Good
stuff.
ideas.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad you have stuff that you're doing, and hopefully that you're having fun decompressing, touching grass, looking at the sky sometimes.
Staring at my sewing projects pile off into the corner, like, yeah, I have stuff to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, I mean, hobbies are important too. I don't know if you do it professionally or
Oh no.
anything,
No,
but
no, no,
yeah.
no, no.
Yeah, grab stuff to do, it's not all work too, so
Yeah.
that's equally important. And
Yeah.
I did already ask you what you specialized in the industry, but one more time, maybe
Yeah.
if you could just tell everyone.
Yeah. So specifically what I have the most experience in, if we're gonna do specialty in that sense. Twofold. Uh in terms of games specifically, I am a content designer. I do gameplay implementation and quest design primarily. Uh Most of my experience has been with World of Warcraft and its proprietary tools. That's a 30-year-old game engine for those of you who want trivia. Like, it is,
That's
oh
insane.
boy, we're not sure how it's still running. It's like the ship of Theseus with a few Lovecraftian tentacles mixed in with the spaghetti code. We're not
Yeah.
wholly sure how it's still functioning, but it is. And I'm impressed. I love that tool set. It's also like it's not like any other tool set that is like publicly available. So
Mm.
I've been teaching myself Unreal Engine blueprints. I've done a bunch with Unity in my classes. Shout out to my game design professor, Jason Weiser, who teaches at like 4 different institutions.
Good God.
Absolutely love his class, and he makes all of his tutorials and class resources free and open to the
Let's
public.
go. There you
So,
go.
Mad Womb,
Yeah.
MADWOMB.com. You should go check it out and tell him I said hi because he's amazing. Uh,
Yeah.
love him. That's my like game design experience. And then, of course, I've been getting a Bachelor of Fine Arts for the past 4 years. I originally thought I was going to be a concept artist. So I've been trained as a fine artist and illustrator for the past 4 years, and that's my other specialization, really. Um,
Mhm.
Granted, illustration is not concept art. I want to make that very
It is
clear. They are
absolutely
not the
not.
same thing.
Yeah.
No. But I enjoy illustration. I figured out that concept art isn't actually what I wanted to do. I enjoyed illustration more. But I was able to use my illustration skills to help communicate my game design ideas, which, hey, multidisciplinary. We're making it specialize in, if we're going to put that in air quotes here.
That's huge. And again, that idea of the, multi-hat, especially in indie games, is huge right now. So I can't encourage people enough to do a bunch of things.
In indie games, it's basically a necessity because of how small the team is. In the corporate world and big studios, it's going to make you stand out insanely well, especially if you still are able to have a high level of skill in a niche, while also being able, again, to speak the language of other teams, understanding how their workflows and their processes connect into whatever your niche is, and being able to have that dialogue in a very productive manner is super, super useful. For myself, one example of this was during one of my internships, I was collaborating with the world art team, and I said, hey, here's a rough sketch. Like, I just drew up a rough sketch, and I'm like, here's what I was thinking. Let me know what you think of this. Like, obviously your workflow is going to be different than mine, but from my understanding, this is what might be helpful. And they looked at it and they went, are you actually a designer? Like,
yeah.
How? This is really helpful. It was really nice to go through that process and be able to use my artistic skills to the benefit of my design work, especially in the prototyping phase. That was really helpful. So my school, my program for getting my BFA was rooted in multidisciplinary work.
Right.
We don't actually have majors at my school. It is
okay.
There are no majors at SMFA. It is, you get your BFA and you do so by getting studio credit, and how you get that studio credit is kind of up to you, which means it works really well for self-driven people who want to explore a lot of different avenues and kind of cobble things together in their own way. For me, I angled that towards game design. For other people, they might angle that towards art history or gallery work. It's important to understand that sort of approach is applicable to pretty much any given education, whether that is, hey, you're teaching yourself, you're getting something from a community college, you're going to a private university. Like, you can still do that for any given learning pathway. It's important to understand that this is not limited you're not limited based on your major. You're not limited based on your title. You can learn other things. It's okay.
No, honestly, and especially as I'm sure people have seen online, game dev degrees specifically are in a bit of a weird spot right now, where it's kind of, nobody's really defining them 100% yet. So that might not be the avenue that works best for you. Like you said, like, Sam, you took a completely different, like, art-based degree, and that worked out awesome. Taught you a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And if you don't go to college, university, that is okay too. I mean, my degree
is a wonderful thing.
YouTube is absolutely exceptional. We have the wonders of being accessible to this content in a way that no other generation has been.
The unique benefits of an actual program usually come down to structure and community. It is primarily an opportunity to have some external structure that will keep you accountable, because you're paying money to have yourself be held accountable. Okay. And there's a network and community of other current students and alums and professors, and you get to tap into that and those resources. That's what actually going to an institution is going to get you. Self-teaching gives you a heck of a lot more flexibility, which may be necessary. Also, doesn't have to cost any money. That's also true. It is way cheaper. I obviously went to a private university that cost a lot of money, and that is a privilege that I was able to enjoy. But that's not accessible to everybody. And there are other ways to get structure and community while still being self-taught. Discord servers, like the entry-level Discord server, where they have co-working sessions.
I
Hint,
didn't
hint,
pay them
nudge,
to
nudge.
say this.
No, you did not. I just brought that up. But stuff like that, where you can go and work with other people in your field together, is another great way of having that structure and community and holding yourself accountable without necessarily having to pay a ton of money.
Honestly,
higher education, the piece of paper is really only as valuable as you make it. So a lot of corporate stuff will require some kind of degree.
yes.
But you can get an associate's and they'll be fine with that. That's a 2-year degree. You can go to a community college. They don't care what name of the school is on the degree, as long as you have the degree. Like, there's a number of levels here where you have to consider, like, cost benefit analysis. Is this worth it for me?
Honestly,
I don't want anybody to think that there is one track to being successful and it is to go to college, because that is not true by any means.
Yeah, no, spoken by, I mean, somebody who just got out of college, somebody who came out of it.
Spoken as somebody who just got out of college. Like, I'm glad I went to college. I personally needed it, but it is not for everybody, and that's okay.
For sure, 100% agree. And correct me if I'm wrong, your internship was a student internship or just a general internship? Sorry, please don't choke live. That's going to be so awkward.
That is bad for your health, don't you know?
CPR on the
yeah. Staying alive. No, so my internships at Blizzard were both student internships. And the first summer I did it was actually unique because it was the first year of a program called the Sparks Sophomore Internship Program. Very cool. That was, they actually normally only have their internships opened up to juniors and seniors in college. Okay. And this specific program, they were actually opening up a small, very, very small portion of internship slots to sophomores in the industry. In university, right? And the way that happened is they hold these career talks, and this is like, hey, if you want to get into any internships, here's the dirty secret: you show up to career talks hosted by companies incessantly, they will start to recognize you. I was on Handshake, which is like LinkedIn meets Snapchat in a weird way, but for specifically college and like internship listings. A lot of schools have their career centers like plugged into Handshake specifically.
Gotcha. Okay, very cool.
And that's where there's a lot of early career opportunities. So get on Handshake if you're not already.
Go on Handshake.
And I saw on Handshake that, hey, this event's coming up. It's from Activision Blizzard King, ABK. It's called the Press Play Talks. This was my freshman year of college. I was still like, it was 2021, so it was like, okay, we're talking about still halfway remote, still a lot of like online stuff. So I said, okay, these are career talks that realistically I'm not going to be able to apply to things. And this is the impression I had before I had my internships, right? Okay, I'm not going to be able to apply to things as a freshman in college. That's not happening. However, what I can get here is a lot of information from the recruiters. I can start networking, and also I get to see the behind the scenes of how my favorite games get made.
That's kind of cool.
The only thing I have to lose here is time. So I signed up for as many of those press play talks as I feasibly could fit in my schedule, which ended up being about 8 different talks.
Wow, okay.
Over the course of about 3 months. Which was fantastic. I learned so much. But when I first got in there, I like turned my camera on. I made sure that I was like saying hi in the chat, being professional and polite, but also engaged. You know, and like showing that I was actually interested. And I noticed that I was one of about 10% of students. There were like 200 students in this call.
Wow.
And only about 20 of us actually had our cameras on.
Huh.
You would think more people would have put their cameras on.
Yeah.
Nope. So extenuating circumstances notwithstanding, like having your camera on and having your face is incredibly memorable.
Huge.
Like being able to emote and express is pretty important because so much of our communication as humans is nonverbal. It's in our expressions, it's in our actions. You can see I'm flapping my hands about. No, I'm not going to stop doing that. But
from Boston,
my
they talk
manner,
with their hands.
my mannerisms as a person is a big part of how I communicate. It's a big part of how anyone communicates, right? So that was the first thing that I ended up doing that inadvertently gave me an advantage. The second thing was just showing up consistently. Like I kept showing up and engaging. And the apologies, the commuter rail runs right next to my apartment. The recruiter started recognizing me. About halfway through, like I think this was 5 out of 8 talks, I was sitting in an art demo by Jordan Powers, who, by the way, is a wonderful human being. Absolutely adore him. He's the lead prop artist for World of Warcraft.
Oh, that's so cool.
And he's lovely. And I was sitting in the middle of a demo that he was doing, talking about culture kits and how they make props and what a prop artist actually does for World of Warcraft. And Sheridan Jackson, who is no longer at ABK, but was at the time one of the lead early careers recruiters, she gets on mic and goes, "Hey, Sam, you look like you're having a good time." And I freeze. Oh shit, I got noticed.jpg. Like, help. I was not expecting to get noticed. What I hadn't realized was that I was physically bouncing in my chair and clapping and like looking like a goofy idiot on camera this entire time. And of course they noticed this. So I get on mic and I very sheepishly go, "Thank you very much. I am learning a lot and I really appreciate that you guys are hosting this." And just like, help. Shy. And then I get off mic and I just sit there going, did that actually just happen? Yeah, that actually just happened. Oh no. Hoping to God I did not embarrass myself. And then we go on with the demo and it's fun. And I got to make Jordan laugh when I asked him what his favorite thing he had made for the game was and why it was Pepe, which is this little orange bird thing that he made. He laughed because, of course, he said that in an interview somewhere, and I remembered it.
Huge, yeah.
By the end of these talks, right, fast forward to the last one of these, it was 4 recruiters and 4 students sitting in a Zoom call shooting the shit. It was so chill. We all had our cameras on. We were just chatting. And that was what the persistence earned me, was like I kept showing up and now I'm like in this Zoom call with a couple other students and a bunch of recruiters and I'm like able to ask them questions in a way that is much more direct and honest and like we're just there's less pressure.
Yeah, for sure.
After going to those talks, I get an email. "Hey, this is Sheridan. We're starting up a new sophomore internship program. I know you're only a freshman now, but next year when we get this started, do you want to apply?" And I go, "Is that even a question? Yes, of course I want to apply."
Yeah.
What is this? Like, you think I'm going to refuse an offer to apply to an internship that I was only dreaming of getting after graduation?
Yeah, honestly. Huge.
So like, that's how I ended up in the Sparks program. And there's more stories in that, but the lesson there is showing up consistently, allowing yourself to be passionate and engaged and expressive, that's what actually got my foot in the door and got me talking to the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And then they looked at my portfolio. They looked at me as somebody who had potential, even though I was ostensibly not in a game design field or profession. And
Mm-hmm.
they said, "Hey, we can teach you. We see you have potential. We're gonna help you learn."
Mm.
Um, and so my internships at Blizzard were the result of me allowing myself to be a little cringe, if you would.
Yeah, to be cringe is to be free.
Yeah, right. To be enthusiastic, to
Yeah.
be somebody who is, willing to show up,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Um, and that got my foot in the door. And that really precipitated into like everything else that followed. It all kind of snowballed from that.
Mm-hmm.
What I ended up learning at Blizzard was a lot of how the corporate world of games works, what a pipeline feels like from a corporate standpoint versus an indie standpoint, which is
Mm-hmm.
closer to what I was doing in classes, was more
Right.
of an indie standpoint.
Mm.
Um, but I also was able to talk with people in a lot of different disciplines as peers. I was able to ask questions and be able to access resources by virtue of people who have been in this industry for 10, 20, 30 years, people
Yeah.
who made gameplay that was part of my childhood, and I got to pick their brains about that.
Yeah.
um, that was the benefit of those internships, was largely the people. You don't need to be in a corporate internship necessarily to have the experience of being around good people.
Mm.
um, and especially with all the layoffs recently, there's a lot of really, really good, knowledgeable people who are floating around, um, and have a conversation. It is lonely and difficult right now, and even if the state of the industry hurts,
Mm.
part of the things that you can do both for yourself and for others is to just have a conversation, ask questions, learn from each other.
Yeah.
Um, Everybody in this industry, I think, is at least 10% nicer than they might seem online.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd
With a
agree.
few
I'd agree.
exceptions, like most people are going to be nicer than you assume because so much of this community is built on a shared like love of nerdum.
Yeah.
So it's okay. You can talk to people.
Yeah. And like, honestly, it's a good space to be willing to accept that. Like, I don't think it's cringe, but the quote unquote like cringe of geeking
Yeah.
out so strong about something. Everyone in this industry wants to geek out about it
We
too.
we wouldn't be in games if we didn't also love games. Like
Exactly. Exactly.
we wouldn't be here if we didn't love this.
Mm-hmm.
So take that into account.
Exactly. And kind of on the subject of your internship and like your other work, I did want to ask, because I know it's very important, how you've kind of navigated this community, this space, all of this as a disabled person yourself.
So it's been difficult,
Mm-hmm.
especially in terms of job search, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a position where I cannot relocate without risking at least 3 months worth of like debilitating chronic illness flare
Okay, gotcha.
to relocate for wherever. And so if
Mm-hmm.
it's a 3 month internship,
Mm.
12 weeks, I'm gonna lose that entire internship to a flare.
Yeah.
Not feasible for me. If it's like a job offer, but it's out in LA in California, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna lose the first 3 months of that job offer to a flare. And also, LA is so incredibly car centric, and I can't drive,
Honestly,
and it
yeah.
is not walkable. So, like,
Mm.
how am I supposed to make that work?
Yeah.
Especially on an entry level salary, like that's not gonna get me any sort of apartment or housing that is anywhere close to work. So that's
Mm.
why I've been in Boston, in large part because it is the most accessible for me,
Mm.
um, there's a lot of really good public transit. Yes, the MBTA catches fire sometimes, but it's an old system. We work with it. But the public transit at least exists, right?
Yes.
Whereas in LA, it just doesn't.
Mm.
I am able to walk places because there are sidewalks and they're decently maintained and generally pretty open. Like the roads are paved smoothly enough that I can deal, right? There's a lot of ways that I can get around the city and around the metro area without needing a car. And there's also housing options that are affordable because this is a city of students, and we all know that students are broke.
Every student is broke. Yeah.
It's definitely more expensive, right, than living somewhere rural. Of course it is. It's urban, but it is much more affordable than something like LA or Irvine, where the cost of living on average is like $90,000 to $100,000 a year.
Yes. Yeah. Totally agree.
The cost of living here in Boston is something like $60,000 to $70,000 a year, which for an urban area, yeah, it's still expensive, but way less expensive than someplace like Irvine. So both from a financial perspective and the perspective of somebody who is disabled, relocation has been my biggest challenge. From the perspective of like, what do I actually do with work? How, like, remote work versus in person? I find that, and this is going to sound contradictory, both the ability to be in person and be remote are accessibility needs for me.
Yes, I do understand that. Yeah.
And it sounds contradictory, but it's not, because when my brain, with ADHD, when my brain is in an environment where I am easily distracted, I am on my own. I'm going to struggle to stay on task. Whereas if I go to a place where, everybody in office is working, or if I were to go to the public library where everybody's sitting down and reading and working and doing things, right? It's a lot harder for me to get distracted when my brain kind of goes into this, everybody else is working, I'm going to start working kind of mirror mode.
Yeah, like work mode,
and that's
right?
right. Putting myself in an environment where I can go into work mode is really important. At the same time, because of my physical chronic illness, if I can't make it into the office, I shouldn't have to use paid time off simply because mobility's hard that day, right? I can, my bed's right there. I can walk 5 feet, sit down at my desk, or work from bed and still get stuff done and still be productive. And that is also a necessity for me, especially when I'm having bad chronic illness days. Those two things exist simultaneously.
For sure.
I think I'm speaking to the choir when I say I think remote work should be an option everywhere.
I think so, honestly.
I don't particularly understand, especially in the games industry where we are inherently based on working on the computer, right? Like, why can't we do things remotely? I also understand that businesses have an incentive to keep their real estate for tax breaks.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah, so, like, both things are important. There are ways to do, quote, in-person style work without necessarily going into an office.
For sure.
But it is harder sometimes when you can't, like, just go walk over to somebody's desk and ask them for help, right? I understand both sides of that coin. But from a disability perspective, I need both options to be available for myself to be the most functional. I don't think it should be a requirement to be one or the other.
No, and that's what it boils down to, right? Is that accessibility option. Like right now, I don't have a physical chronic illness. I am able to, just go somewhere as needed. But like, I know a lot of people.
What happens if you break your leg?
Exactly, right? Like people, especially in potentially higher up, more corporate positions, may not realize that, or may not think about these things before it becomes a necessity. That like these things do really need to change for sure, especially for
their naivete is not their fault until it becomes willful ignorance. That being said, it's important to recognize that, like, even able-bodied people can be affected by a lack of disability and accessibility standards.
Of course.
Because they could become temporarily disabled. It's not just us who are permanently disabled. We should be valued as human beings.
Yes.
But also this affects you. Like,
Yeah.
I understand that it is easier to be selfish, so let me explain how this also affects you.
Honestly.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, like the disability angle, it's hard to quantify just how much it affects my search, because it is literally infused into so much of my everyday life. That, like, I simply cannot quantify it because I don't have another perspective. I don't have an able-bodied perspective. I constantly have to be thinking about, okay, what about my spoons for the day mentally? What about my physical ability for the day? Are my hips and knees doing all right? Is my stomach doing all right? How tired am I? Is my chronic fatigue flaring up? Like, there are all these things that are constantly running in the back of my head.
Yeah.
That an able-bodied person doesn't have to think about.
No, it's, yeah. It shouldn't be, like, having these chronic illnesses, having these disabilities shouldn't stop people from being able to do these other things. Like, that there shouldn't be that barrier, and obviously there is. Do you have any, you've spoken on it a lot, do you have any, like, immediate recommendations that you would say where it's like, oh, this needs to change, I think, right now?
I mean, obviously remote work becoming standard is the biggest thing that companies can do, both indie and corporate. Like, that is the biggest thing that you can do for your workers to enable a level of accessibility across the board, just baseline. Because when people are in their own homes, they're going to already have access to accessibility aids that they just live with already. So it also just costs the company less money. Hey, if we're talking in the language of capitalism, it will reduce
Honestly.
your operating costs.
Yep.
Oh, hey. So it's actually, there is a monetary incentive on the side of companies to actually move towards remote work. Whereas if we're talking in office, right, that's on a very individual level, but I think they're primarily in office, if we're talking like generalized things, I think having making sure that all doors have accessibility buttons so they can be opened with the push of a button. That also helps when you're carrying a lot of heavy stuff.
Just in general, good to have.
Having accessible, friendly, gender neutral bathrooms. Making sure that your desks and walkways are accessible for folks in wheelchairs with mobility issues. Having spaces where employees can go to rest for 15 minutes between meetings because maybe they need to recover. Having a kitchen space where maybe you have a couple fridges and maybe a toaster oven or a microwave or something. Like, most offices will have something like that, but it is not a lot of people consider that an accessibility thing until you realize that that might be the only way somebody could, like, have sustenance with them throughout the day.
Honestly.
Somebody might have to refrigerate their medication. Et cetera, et cetera. So, like, there's a lot of things. It's covered in the ADA for a reason. The American Disabilities Act covers a lot of this stuff for a reason. But if I had to, like, pin down one thing, aside from remote work, that all companies would benefit from, it's talking to your disabled employees from, like, the highest level. Like, literally just sit down and have a conversation and be open-minded. Most people are totally willing to talk about their how their disabilities affect them, in my experience.
Yeah. For sure.
In the
Yeah.
sense that, hey, I'm going to come at this with an open mind.
Yes.
I understand that your experience is different from mine, and I want to learn from you. I'm not coming at this with any sort of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of conversation between managers, between executives, and their disabled staff is super important. Stacy in the chat just put it really
Yeah.
well.
Fantastically. Yeah.
Humanizing your disabled staff and looking at them as people who just simply have different needs than your average worker, and
Yep.
being able to accommodate them is really important. Again, what happens when somebody becomes temporarily disabled?
Yeah.
Having those things already in place makes everyone's life easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And
yeah,
this goes.
I can keep yapping about it, but there's incentive on both ends of the spectrum to make this happen. It is a good idea for everybody.
It is beneficial if you go the capitalism route. It's profitable. Being accessible is it's the way to go. And this goes for if anybody who's listening is working with a team as well. Like, ask your coworkers, ask your colleagues. This doesn't have to be like waiting for a boss to ask
No,
to
just have the
make stuff
conversation.
accessible. Yeah, honestly.
Schedule a 15-minute coffee chat. Have the conversation over lunch while you're eating snacks and stuff in your face. Like,
Yeah.
hey, this kind of conversation can happen anywhere, and it doesn't have to be a formal conversation. It just has to be a conversation.
And it's
Human
cool.
to
You
human.
get to meet new people. You get to learn new perspectives. It's sick. It's sick. Just talking to people, just learning new things is great.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that's
Yes.
my thoughts on disability stuff. I know we're at 3.
Yeah, so we're hitting 3. If you're okay with it, we are going to open it a bit to some Q&A.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good to go for at least another half hour.
Sick. Okay, let's pop open the Q&A then. But thank you so much for sharing. Like,
Yeah.
I know I like rapid fire through questions at you for an hour here.
Hey, that's what I came here for. I've done this a lot with students as well, where I'll have somebody asking me a crap ton of questions, and some things I knew the answer to, some things I didn't. So that's like, I've done this before. I'm happy to help as much as I can.
Yeah, now it's our turn to ask a crap ton of questions, and we are not students. So we have even more. Okay, so if you're on Twitch or Discord, you can fire off your questions there. I have my lovely mods kind of helping me manage that. And we'll just kind of let a couple trickle in here. So please, thank you everyone for hanging out. Please grab a water if you don't already have one. It is hot and gross.
Yeah, hydrate or dihydrate.
Exactly. All right.
I'm so happy to be doing this. This is pretty great.
It's super cool talking to you. It's really, really dope. Oh, we got one. We've had some people
ask us. Yeah. We've had some people recently ask us for advice on working as a freelancer in the industry. Do you have any advice for game devs or illustrators looking to break into freelance work for the first time? Okay. So that's a complicated question because freelance is different from industry work in the sense that you're not going to be getting benefits, and you are responsible for your own money management. You're responsible for your own marketing, like marketing yourself, going out, getting gigs, that sort of thing. So it's important to recognize that the foundation of freelance work is you are doing everything yourself. There's a lot you might take for granted when being employed by somebody else as an employee, like regular time employee, that you're not going to get as a freelancer. That being said, if you want to work in freelance, both as game dev, illustrator, doing anything freelance, really. So any of you techie folks wanting to do freelance, you can also listen to this. The most important thing you can do is identify a niche need that you can solve.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Identify a problem first, in a niche that you can solve, right? For illustration, this might look like, hey, as a popular example, they might need illustrators to do sprites for a visual novel.
Mm-hmm.
And they might need you to be able to create a sprite that is capable of swapping between expressions with just the facial expressions, a la the Arcana.
Yep.
Or might need a sprite that can swap into multiple body poses, right? And have sprites that way, right? That might be a niche version of a freelance illustration gig. Another version of that might be splash art for marketing and understanding, hey, there's going to be graphics and logos on top of my illustration. Where do I leave empty space in my composition to give room for those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do I format my illustration so that it can work across multiple platforms? So those are some popular avenues for freelance illustration. Less popular avenues might involve things like doing illustration for publications. This could be anthologies. This could be game manuals. This could be zines, working as part of artist collectives, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Freelance can also look like commission work on an individual client by client basis.
Yep.
This is where you see a lot of artists turn to when they first think of freelance artwork. It doesn't have to be that. Freelance art also can be done through an agency. So if you find an agency that represents artists, they could help you get work. And agencies sometimes have benefits that true freelance doesn't necessarily have. So there's a lot of ways that, for artists specifically, you can kind of go about that. I will say that, especially if you're able to provide some physical work, that is going to be valuable right now because AI sucks.
Yeah.
a lot of people are going to be a lot of people might value physical work. So if you do digital work, maybe make prints of that work on really high quality paper and have that be the product, right?
That's a good idea.
Stuff like that. For game dev, there's a lot of stuff like building training experiences. Trainings are game dev. It doesn't seem like it, but trainings are game dev. And so that's an avenue for game dev folks to potentially find work that isn't necessarily immediately obvious. There's stuff to do with like interactive theater. I've had friends who have used Unreal Engine and the Unreal Engine cinematics editor to do projections for theater.
Wow.
In a freelance capacity, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Game dev at its core is interactive experience design. That applies to everything from museum exhibitions to trainings to theater to what have you. If it is an interactive experience, you can apply your game dev skills to that.
Yeah.
So all of this boils down to, first you need to identify your niche and the needs you can address. Then you need to use your skills in a transferable way to support that, right? And it's not going to be easy. Freelance was really difficult.
Yeah.
But if you're able to market yourself and identify the specific niche that you can really apply your skills to, you can do things. Like the way my dad accidentally started a business is he was experimenting with some precision machining on flat ground stones that they use to determine if a surface is truly flat or not. And then he had a bunch of people on Instagram asking, hey, can we buy that off you?
Yeah, sometimes
And he
that's
accidentally
how it starts.
Yeah. So like sometimes all it takes is, hey, posting about this problem that you've identified that you're working on a solution for. Other people who have that problem might come up out of the woodwork. There's a lot of ways to approach it, but identify the niche, make your skills transferable, market yourself. That's
This
what it
goes
boils
for
down to.
non-freelance work too, folks. Like
Oh yes, this applies to like everything.
if you're especially if you're in a very large space, if you're in concept and illustration art right now, if you're in general game design, it helps to have a niche. It helps to market yourself. Like, how do you stand
Yeah.
out among
It's also
these
okay to have multiple
applicants?
niches. You can
Bingo.
pick 2 or 3 niche paths to specialize in while maintaining a more generalized background. That's what I usually would advise students is like, hey, pick 2, maybe 3 paths that you like specialize in
Mm-hmm.
and let the rest be more general.
Yeah.
You get the best of both worlds.
Honestly, and with the movement into kind of these indie spaces, again, like Sam mentioned, I'll just shout it out again. They want generalists a lot nowadays. Even if you're not maybe a coder, but you work in art, having a little bit of knowledge in Unity is sometimes enough to push you over, 500 applicants who don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's I hope that spiel was useful. I know I kind of yapped a bit there.
No, it's great. And what kind of
Again,
freelance work do
professional
you?
yapper here. Let's
Yeah,
go.
that's great. That's what we want. We want
Yeah.
yapping. If you don't mind me asking, what kind of freelance do you personally kind of engage in?
I've done some commission artwork.
Mhm.
I've done like uh some design work for logos and like a little bit of graphic design stuff. Um, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
I aspire to eventually sell like sticker designs and prints and
Let's
postcards and that
go.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, it's something that I've always wanted to get more into, but now that I'm graduated, I actually have the time to like do that deep dive.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
How can a newcomer to game dev make the most of an internship at a studio? That's the question I was asking myself when I started my internships. And there's a lot of things you can do. Um, the very first thing I would do is make sure that you are connecting with the people, because the people in an internship are your biggest resource. Those relationships will continue long after you finish up your internship. I still talk with my coworkers from Blizzard on a daily basis. Like I still we have a little Discord server for like off hours stuff that I'm still in, and I get to see all the pet pictures. It is great.
Aw.
But like those relationships are like that's the gold mine.
Mhm.
Even after an internship is over. So that's step number one, I think, is identify the people that you can connect with and really build those relationships. Make sure that you're focused on uh, good communication, good time management, all things that will make you likable to people while also being functional in your role.
Mhm.
Um, the second thing, and this is something that I didn't realize was so important until after I left my internship because I realized how much it changed my thinking, is understanding the design philosophy or the training philosophy almost
Mhm.
of your studio. Part of my onboarding at Blizzard was watching a series of videos about Blizzard's specific design philosophy, about
Mhm.
Blizzard's approach to making games. Um, the actual talk itself, I think,
Mhm.
is called "The Beautiful Road," and
Okay.
I believe it was Dave Kosak who gave that talk originally, and he still gives it to schools and whatnot
Mhm.
around the country. He's given that talk over and over and over again.
Mm.
Um, and the core of that design philosophy was you have to make it functional before you can make it pretty, first of all. Second of all, the pretty stuff can't block the way of your functionality.
Yeah.
And that's what it mostly boiled down to. There's a lot of nuance in the talk that I really can't get into. I would highly recommend if you can if you can like find a way to get him to come speak at whatever institution or find his talks online. He's a wonderful speaker. I can't recommend him enough. Um, but that design philosophy fundamentally changed how I approached problems. I had to start looking at function before aesthetics. Whereas as an artist, I used to only look at aesthetics because aesthetics was the function.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I have to identify a function first. And sometimes that has changed my approach to an artwork. Because aesthetics no longer is the primary function of the artwork.
Yeah.
So that's an example of where learning the core design philosophy can make an internship really, really valuable, and how it can change your thinking further down the line, and how you can apply it to future jobs, future skill sets, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, people and design philosophy are like the two biggest things. Beyond that, have fun, ask questions, be enthusiastic. Just generally allow yourself to enjoy your time there as much as you can as somebody who is learning. Recognize that you're not going to know everything off the bat. If you knew everything, they wouldn't be offering you an internship. They'd be offering you a full-time position.
Yep.
And also asking, how the hell do you know everything? Right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows everything. Nobody knows everything off the bat. So like, making the most of an internship, you kind of get out of it what you put into it. Focusing on the people and the design philosophy will take you far beyond even the internship. But while you're there, let yourself enjoy it. Let yourself learn and ask questions. It's okay. You're not supposed to know everything.
It's learning. There's a reason we're so entry level focused, and like that's the biggest thing, especially in an industry now where it may not be as available as we would like it to be. To all those folks that are entry level in this space who may not have ever had a job in the industry that they're going into, like, connect with people, have fun, enjoy the fact that you're in this industry, because it truly is the best one I've worked in, especially community wise. It's a wonderful space.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably kind of the tone we'll take as we like end this Q&A here, because I think you've put it beautifully, Sam. It's just like, have fun with these things. It's not just the internship. Like, put yourself into it, enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, the people are what make this space so good. Yes. It is always the people. Whether you're doing game jams or joining, I can do one more if you guys have
let's
time
do one.
for it.
Yeah, let's do one more. Let's throw one more.
Yeah. But yeah, the people are what make it good.
Yes, totally agree. Totally agree. Okay, let's hop this question in. Okay, I think Stacy's grabbing it. Yeah. Thank you, Stacy.
Okay, right now is a bad time to be trying to get into the industry. I'm a narrative designer, which is a difficult niche in good times. Would you say that it's unhealthy for me to just keep my head down game jamming and volunteer studio indieing and studying on my own, applying until maybe something happens? I understand it could take years, but I need someone to tell me I'm not just wasting my life. You are not just wasting your life.
Just wasting your life. By the way, just before Sam starts talking, I know this person. I played your game, and if that enough is a reason, like, I loved playing the game that you released. I completely fudged the name of it, but it was the detective game. I know it. I 100%. Please drop it in. And even if maybe you, after grinding
the link.
didn't feel, maybe it was absolutely, like, it was transformative for me. It was transformative for a lot of people. Like, that creation alone, I think, should be enough to let you know that, like, you should keep creating. But I will let Sam kind of dive into that as well.
Yeah. So there's a couple of aspects to this, right? One is balancing the things you really want to do creatively that are emotionally fulfilling, and balancing your needs for survival and, like, paying your bills. The reality is you need to be able to pay your bills. Yes. You do not have to do games as a job.
Yeah.
Games can be a hobby. And if you love being a narrative designer, if you love working, doing game jams, writing stories, you can always do that. Games will always be here.
Yeah, agreed.
It is worth getting something that you are at least okay with, right? Whether that's copywriting, doing some editing for a news publication, whether that's retail, right? Working at a library. There are ways that you can use your current skill set from games, from game jams, to get jobs that are more stable, while still being able to do games outside of that, right? You are still going to be capable of doing game work always and forever.
Yeah.
It will always be there. Hell, G&D is game design.
Honest to God, yeah.
I've had to tell some of my student classmates who come to me for advice, like, hey, put D&D in your portfolio. But, like, there will always be room for game design in your life, whether it is as a true job or as a hobby.
Yeah.
And don't let the idea that it has to be a job ruin it for you.
Agreed.
It is okay to do game design just as a hobby, because you are still contributing to this community. You are still enjoying the process of going through those creative motions, right? That's still important.
Mm-hmm.
Getting something that will pay your bills is a little bit of a different conundrum. You do need to give yourself a foundation of stability to stand on. That doesn't mean you have to give up games.
Agreed. And like, don't let your job define you in that case. Like, if you don't want it to define you, don't let it.
Your job isn't your entire personality. I'm currently applying actually to administrative assistant jobs in healthcare. Because I know healthcare, like, there's a bunch of fields that are still growing right now, even though we're in a bit of a recession. Healthcare and health tech is one of them. And I know that the local hospitals always need people to fill in for their administrative positions, for the people who are making appointments, right? So I've applied to a few of those, and I have an interview coming in a couple weeks where it's like, hey, we're going to see if you're a good fit for our float pool. Fingers crossed. That would be a stable position for me, right? That would pay my bills, but it has nothing to do with games necessarily. That's okay. I can still make game things in my own time. It will free up my brain space of like worrying about being stable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I no longer have to worry about being stable, then I can start thinking more creatively about work for games, work as an illustrator, doing something that just makes me happy.
For sure. And sometimes you need that, like, disconnect from something you love and something that's providing that money. I've also worked administrative positions. I was an assistant teacher when I started doing all of this stuff. Like, and that gave me that flexibility of getting to choose what I want to do without panicking about kind of where my money was coming from, where my rent was coming from. That I think, like, is a really great option to go straight in.
Yeah. And I mean, to our lovely Twitch commenter who asked this, like, I'm in it with you right now. I totally understand. I've been applying to jobs since October. To give you a little context, I've been applying to things since October. I have gotten a single interview for a game design position. One.
Yeah.
It's not you. Nope. It is not anybody's fault except for the people who are making hiring decisions at the very, very top.
Agreed.
Like, it is a rough time. So, in the words of Amir Satvat, whom is a wonderful resource.
Yes, absolutely.
I love him. He and I have talked a bunch. I love him. He's lovely.
What a guy. Yep.
Yeah. Amazing dude. He's been recommending, based on data, large amounts of data. His entire specialty is data collection and analysis.
Yeah.
you you have to find something that is stable to pay your bills first.
Yes.
Look outside the industry right now, because statistically there are so many people looking that your chances, just numbers wise, are really, really difficult.
Yes.
And so finding something else that will keep you stable and also additionally give you skills outside of games that you can then bring into a games job, that is the most logical option.
Yes.
It's not that there
Absolutely.
is not hope. You just have to be strategic about your choices right now.
Yes.
You can,
agreed.
again, you can always do games as a hobby. They will always be there. It's okay. You have to prioritize your own survivability first. Put your oxygen mask on. It's okay. You're
Fully
going
agree.
to be fine. You have
Fully
not
agree.
wasted your time. You have not wasted your time by doing something you love. This is a matter of survivability, and sometimes survivability means taking care of your brain.
100%. And that is honestly, like, that is a fantastic message. Like at entry level, we're a huge, advocate for that hope and optimism, and we want to create a community based on that. But there is a very realistic approach that you have to take, especially in a passion industry where applications are very difficult, that you can still have that passion without necessarily being in the industry at that time. And again,
Yeah.
like Sam said, you're not wasting your time. You're doing something you love. And especially with games, other people are experiencing that passion, that love for games through your content. So never think that that's not worth it just because you're not receiving a paycheck for it, I would say.
Yeah. I've been trying to convince my professors at a fine arts school for ages that video games are a form of art.
Yes.
And if you make games, you are making art.
Yeah.
Full story. Like you're making art.
Yeah.
And if you need any more validation, Minecraft is in the Museum of Modern Art in New York City.
There you go.
Yeah. So you are an artist in the sense that you are making artwork. Games are an experiential form of art. They have inherent value even if you're not getting paid for it, right?
Yes.
So don't assign your value necessarily to how much you're getting paid to do something you enjoy. Assign the value to the enjoyment you get out of it, to the learning you get out of it. You're going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay.
And,
all right,
yeah.
We're 30 minutes over.
I was gonna say we're so over time. I'm so sorry. No, I'm sorry to you, Sam. I'm like, let's do 1 hour Q&A, and then I'm like, it's 3:30. But
yeah,
thank you for
we're yapping.
Thank you for everything.
We needed to keep talking, and honestly, like it's stuff I'm passionate about. Like I'm in the thick of it with everybody else. I know as both a student and as somebody who's done career advising, who's gone through resources, who's seen results of altering your practice when you're applying to things like that. It is imperative that you keep showing up. It's imperative that you respond to whatever's happening, but also that you take care of yourself.
Yes. Agreed.
And if I can leave anybody with things today, like take care of yourself. That should be your first priority. Second priority, take care of your community.
Yeah.
Your community will show up for you when you need them.
Absolutely agree. And I think that's what we're going to end it on is, love yourself, show that love to others. If you're on Twitch, please feel free to join our community on Discord. It is very active. It is a lot of folks that can form that community, especially in remote space. Sam's there. Come say hi to Sam.
I joined, and it's been so much fun. I've gotten so many rabbit memes. It's excellent.
There you go. Sam sends memes, so please join if just for that. And Sam, thank you so much for joining us for an hour and a half on a Sunday.
Oh, come on. I'm unemployed. It's fine.
There you go. Yeah.
Surprising plethora of rabbit memes. You say as I'm wearing a rabbit shirt that says "Bite the hand that oppresses you."
I love it. I love the style. I couldn't like see the bottom of it this whole time, so I'm like, it's bite the hand that's something.
It's bite the hand that oppresses you, and it's a rabbit with strawberries biting a hand.
I'm obsessed with that.
Incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we're vibing. But yeah, come join this community. We're having fun.
Come say hi to Sam. We have Sam's LinkedIn as well. They are active there. I know they have a Blue Sky as well and their own website. So I will politely bully Stacy into putting those links as well.
Yeah.
But yes,
if you want to find me, conjette.art, conjette.art. That is my username across most platforms.
Yes. So please also check out their stuff. Don't just support them here. And yeah, we'll power down. I think we'll thank everybody for coming.
Yeah.
All that.
Thank you.
Again, thank you so much for all of your advice, Sam.
Happy time zone, folks.
And fingers crossed for that interview. You got this, man.
Oh, we're
you got it. We're staying
Boston
positive.
Children's, please pull through.
Let's go, Boston Children.